Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Insight250 Spotlight series, where we talk to innovators and leaders all around the globe to understand the stories and the people behind the insights. My name is Crispin Beale. I'm the CEO of the Insight250, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Kurz, the Senior Vice President for Global Streaming and Corporate Insights for Paramount Plus and Pluto TV. Now, previously, Christian's worked with strategy and research and leadership positions for Warner Brothers, Disney, ABC Networks, Granada, ITV, and Discovery. So pretty much all the big brands in this space. But Christian, I guess the first thing people want to know is, how did you get into Insights?
Thanks, Crispin, and really good to see you. And hello, everyone. Thanks for watching. That's a really interesting question. Well, it's a good question. My answer may be a little less interesting because it really is about just pure luck or chance. I always knew from a very early age that I was going to be in TV. TV was something that was absolutely, I was obsessed with. Growing up in Austria, I knew when there was another TV channel launching on some cable system somewhere, coming in, of course, from Germany. So from a very young age, I was always going to be doing something with media, electronic media, TV or radio. And then it was pure chance that my first media job, which was in London and was an internship while I was studying there, happened to be in research. And it was about writing surveys for soap opera characters and learning a bit of Barb ratings when it was not as advanced as it is today. And from there, it was just, it kind of stayed with me because that curiosity of trying to find out what people think kind of struck a chord and was something that I was very passionate about. And it allowed me to combine those two passions of the media space, TV, and the curiosity. And of course, that's how I got to where I am.
Oh, that's a fascinating story. Thank you. And how do you see the role of insights evolving in entertainment and media? It all seems to be moving so quickly at the moment.
I mean, yes, quickly is and the fast pace is definitely something that we've picked up, and that the world. I mean, that's the thing. The world is changing very quickly. I sometimes describe it as the teacups ride. Right, you're sitting in your tiny little cup that is spinning. That is your company. That is on a bigger wheel that is spinning. That is your industry, which is sitting on a bigger wheel that is spinning, and that's the world, right? And that means for a split second there, every once in a while, it feels like you're standing still, but then you're going again with enormous forces and speed. And that's really what is certainly happening in the media industry. I also think that that's happening in the research industry as a whole as well. And what we're seeing with that is that the demands for insights are just increasing, particularly in terms of pace. Because decisions today need to be made much more quickly than they ever needed to be before. And that means that sometimes we need to take decisions with imperfect data or sometimes with no data at all. But in an ideal world, of course, we will do our research and insights properly and then get to a decision of what those things are. What the pace dictates today is that every once in a while, not imperfect data has to be good enough. And it then falls upon the insights professional on determining, well, when is that the case, right? And is this imperfect data directionally accurate? Can I make an argument that I do believe this to be true? Or do I really need to just take a step back? Because if I overstep and make a decision based on imperfect data that was wrong, then we're going in the wrong direction, right? So it's a very tricky thing. And I do believe that that's added another dimension to the responsibilities of research and insights professionals, is the judging of, is this good enough already, or do I need to go further?
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. And I talked to Sir Martin Sorrell for the series earlier in the year, and he talked a lot about better, faster, and cheaper, and everyone wanting all three. But I think you bring a whole new dimension there, which is equally important about that judgment and making decisions on that imperfect data at times. So that's very interesting. And well, a different question. What would you consider to be your top tip to be a leader and innovator in our profession?
It truly is to always stay curious and always ask the why questions, right? Because even if you go into big data, and we know that data is helpful and big data must be more helpful, that can only ever answer the what. It can never answer the why. And that, I believe, is at the foundation of what it means to be a researcher, an insights person, is to try and understand what the data is telling me, but even more importantly, what the underlying consumers are telling me and wanting, and essentially projecting that out and figuring that out. So I do think that, going back to your point of faster, cheaper, and better, yes, all of that has to be true. We are finding ways, but it is that trade-off that has to happen. And that translates into this top tip of, just keep asking the questions. There may not be an answer, there may not be a good answer, but at least we've asked the question.
Yeah, that natural curiosity, that why is so important. I think that really is a great top tip for people. So thank you for that, Christian. Now, thinking about media, thinking about your space specifically, how do you use the insights to deliver the compelling characters we see and the storylines in the programs? And who's your audience within Paramount to accomplish that task?
Well, I'll start from the back. The audience within Paramount is literally everyone, all the way down from the president and the boardroom to a line producer who does something or a PR person who writes a press release. It truly is the entire organization as a whole. And I do think that's one of the things that at Paramount, previously Viacom, we have insights and the thirst for knowledge really baked into our DNA. It is truly the foundation of what we're trying to do. Now, I've worked for other media companies as well. That, to a degree, was true in some of those as well, but it feels very, very strong here. And that, of course, means that Insights has a voice at the table. We are able to bring the audience to life and to bring the audience to the board table, to be the audience's voice in a lot of decisions, which, by the way, was an incredibly important thing in the olden days when all media was a business to consumer business, because nobody in the building ever had connections with the actual audience. It fell on research to bring them to life and to bring them into the building. That has changed slightly with the D2C relationship, right? In the streaming world, I know your email address. You are my customer. I talk to you on a regular basis. So that changes slightly, but it remains true as being the foundation of our DNA. And then for the first part of the question, it's really all about how we do things. And that hasn't evolved that drastically. It's just that, again, the pace is higher and the volume, of course, is certainly higher. It goes from testing synopses and scripts when a show is not even greenlit yet, to then testing an episode, to looking at the key art that we're using and looking at the marketing and looking at the trailer and the teaser. And all of those things are tested when it comes to shows. And that is then used by both the content and the marketing teams to focus on, okay, what do we dial up? What do we dial down? And as always, and in any business, research is always just an input, right? Less so in the content side, more on the strategy side. If the business decides to go in a direction that is not what research recommends, that's perfectly fine with me, as long as they have actively heard where the consumer is and choose to go a different way. And sometimes that's important and that's necessary, because consumers don't always know everything. Nobody would have foreseen the need for smartphones at a time when cell phones or mobile phones were getting smaller and smaller, right? So there's that. But overall, having that voice and being part of the discussion is really, really important. And going back to content, so what that means for us is we're providing insights in characters, saying, right, this character people are really interested in, maybe give them a bigger role, maybe explain this a little bit more. Or also, if there's too much confusion in here, this is jumping back and forth too much, maybe we need to put a bit of labeling on there of what period in this show we're in. And the same, of course, goes for any marketing and creative materials, both content but also brand creative, where a montage spot, a clip ad where you see lots of clips from lots of people, consumers very often say, this is moving too fast. I can't actually recognize anybody you're putting in front of me, right? And it's about figuring out what the story is and where we're doing that. So we're working incredibly closely with the content teams, the marketing teams, also with the product teams, right? We have a D2C experience now where we're needing to do usability testing. And for every feature, we're figuring out, okay, is this additive? Is this distractive? We're doing a lot of that. And then, of course, the bigger questions around strategy. So it truly is being embedded with all of those various teams in order to help answer their questions. And because we also know that research takes longer than it takes to formulate a question by somebody else, very often it is about predicting what we think somebody is going to be asking in 3 months' time, so that when they do ask that question, we've already done the research and have the answer. A lot of that comes from just being in the conversation and listening, having our ears to the ground, both inside the organization but also outside, to see what's going on.
Wow, that is just fascinating to literally hear the role that Insight is playing in actually driving, shaping, powering the characters, the stories, indeed the whole shows that we're seeing. So thank you so much for sharing that, Christian. Now I'm sure we could talk about this for hours more, and I'm sure that viewers will want to hear more as well. So look, Christian and I've done a whole article on this, which has just been published by SMR's Research World. You can find that on Insight250.com. As I say, there's a whole piece on insight, innovation, and leadership in media and entertainment that Christian has just written, which is absolutely fantastic. So do go and see that. And Christian, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for watching.
Thank you, Christian. And my second guest today also knows all about the media space. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Mark Lomas, the Global Vice President of the Customer Success Team at MTAB, where he works with data providers and large entertainment companies worldwide. Now, Mark, are you seeing the same urgency that Christian mentioned when it comes to the fast-paced research efforts being conducted by clients to understand the changing landscape in media and entertainment?
Thanks, Crispin. Appreciate the opportunity to give our perspective. There is certainly a growing number of players in the streaming industry, which has made companies like Paramount business-to-consumer partners more than ever before. And Christian is spot on when he says that there's now more data being collected quickly. And it's our role to help our partners always be curious and ask the question, why do consumers feel like they do about a brand or content provided in the media and entertainment space? So here's an example from anonymized data that's meant to reflect a TV or streaming show and a character consumer survey. Now, one of the things our media and entertainment clients focus on is how well a show or series is liked and what the needs or characteristics will help drive the success of that product. Is it edgy, unique, etc.? And as we can see, great storytelling contributes heavily to the overall program rating, and especially among the heavy viewers and 25 to 39-year-old viewers. Now, similarly, the roles and likability of characters drives the overall program rating. And the main characters in this show are Meg and Peter. But if we add in the rest of the ensemble, we can see that while Stu is a minor character, he's one that the audience likes better than others. So based on this audience feedback, maybe it's worth considering Stu for a larger role.
Mark, that's all really intriguing and shows the power of the role that the insights play here. Is there another way you might demonstrate the effect on key metrics, like the overall program rating, by making the change to emphasize characters that the audience prefers?
That's a good question, Crispin. Let's take a closer look at the relationship between the program rating and the storytelling for the user groups that we have. We're already doing well with the heavy viewers and the 25 to 39-year-old viewers. But maybe we want to grow our 40-plus viewer audience. Now, by selecting Stu's viewer rating, which we've nested within the audience variable here, we can see that a large number of respondents who rate the character excellent will help push the program ratings and need fulfillment higher. And certainly, by looking at the lapsed viewers, for instance, and maybe those viewing less 6 months ago, it clearly shows that Stu may well help get some viewers back, since he's preferred over other characters. So Crispin, as you discussed with Christian, we could go on and on, but hopefully this demonstrates how we help our insight partners to keep asking questions and to help spread the voice of the audience throughout their company.
Mark, it's absolutely fascinating and great to see the science, if you like, behind the characters that we watch on a day-to-day basis in these series. But if people want to know more information, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, thanks, Crispin. Yes, they can reach out to us at info@mtab.com.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Christian. That wraps up another episode of the Insight 250 Spotlight series. A huge thank you to both of our experts for joining us today. Do stay tuned for more episodes with more discoveries. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, keep innovating. Thank you.